Meeting of the House Agriculture Committee, and we'll begin. I'll ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Representative All, Representative Bivens,
Here.
Representative Donworth,
Here.
Representative Freeland,
Present.
Representative Hale, Representative Hart, Representative Holloway,
Here.
Representative King,
Present.
Representative Cook,
Here.
Representative Massaroni,
Here.
Representative McPherson,
Here.
Representative Moore,
Here.
Representative Payne,
Here.
Representative Pollock, Representative Rayburn,
Here.
Representative Stalker,
Present.
Representative Tate,
Here.
Representative Thomas,
Present.
Representative Tipton, Representative Watkins,
Present.
Representative Pfister,
Here.
and Chairman Dossett.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And I think there's a possibility we may have some guests we need to introduce. I want to begin by saying I am so proud to see the green shirts that are out in the crowd and those with the blue jackets. It is very impressive to see this large group of young people that represent the youth of our Commonwealth. We'll begin. As I said, I know we have some individuals like to introduce some guests. Representative Pfister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to recognize Cal Hamlin and the 4-H group from Woodford County. If y'all stand up a minute, please help me make them feel welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Bivens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're awful blessed today. It makes you proud to look out here and see these green shirts and these blue jackets, but we have the state 4-H officer team here with us today, and I'm going to ask that you all please stand. We also have a group from LaRue and Greene County that are up today with their 4-H agents. I have a lot of friends. I'm going to ask if you're in a blue jacket or a green shirt to just stand up for a moment. Now I'm going to ask that you keep standing, and I want to point this out to our committee here. You know, these young men and women out here today, a lot of us can credit our success to having wore a green shirt or a blue jacket. But I think that the reason we do what we do every day is because of individuals like this. We do it for the kids of our Commonwealth, and we talk about future leaders. But I sit out here and I look, and I like to concentrate on the word of future, because they are our future. They're future farmers. They're future people involved in the ag industry. I'm sure there's future commodity leaders out here. But more importantly, there's probably some individuals standing out here right now that's going to be sitting in our seats one of these days. They will be future policy makers. So let's give them all another round of applause, and I'm so honored to have you all here with us today. Thank you.
Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Pfister, Representative Moore, and I have a delegation from Jessamine County. If Kathy Weaver and her 3 students will please stand, they're kind of behind the pole there. She has with her today Peyton Wood, Brody Gray, and Sarah Boblet. So thank you all for being here. I look forward to having a little moment to chat upon adjournment. Thank you all for making the trip. Please welcome them.
Representative Rayburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got several guests here with me today. The State 4-H President from Henry County, Callie DeRosset. Henry County FFA, and my prior high school teacher, Miss Lindsay Davey, if they could stand. Henry County School Nutrition, Anna Lusk. And Owen County 4-H student Delaney Tabler. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did a poll of the House a few years ago, and I believe it was about 40% of the members were former 4-H or FFA. So we need to run that back. I'll have to go around and ask everybody again and see where we're sitting today, but 40%. So that I thought that was pretty impressive. Got several guests to introduce. First off, I've got a group from Bourbon County FFA here. I think they've made it to an overflow room. I've also got some of my family up here. My wife, Kristen, is out there. My mother, Teresa, is out there. My brother, Charles and Sutton. And I've got my main man, Nate, sitting up here with me right now. And we've all come up here because at the table, that young lady who wants some really hard questions asked of her today is my niece, Delaney. And I want to welcome all of them and thank them for being here today.
Representative Donworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to especially commend all of the girls and women here with 4-H and FFA. Agriculture is one of those industries that has been traditionally dominated by men, and it's really amazing to see as many female people who are interested in going into agriculture here. So I want to commend you all specifically on that. I also have a couple of guests here to introduce who are shadowing me today. Alicia Chafin, Megan Taylor, and Larkin Moss over here, who are all Fayette County residents, and I want to help me make them feel welcome.
Representative McPherson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I wanted to just acknowledge Ty Jones. He's part of the officer team here, and we've got the 4-H. I think Anna met her and our 4-H are out in the hallway. They didn't get into the room here, but just want to let them know that they're all welcome here, and we appreciate all that they do. And Ty and his family just had a big bull sale, I think, the other day, or getting ready to, one of the two. So they do a lot for our community down there, and we appreciate them. Thank you.
Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad to have a group from Anderson County 4-H here today. Always good to see Susan and her team here today. And I know I'm supposed to be meeting with Spencer County FFA. I'm not sure if they're in the room yet today or not, but y'all please stand and be recognized. Thank you for coming today. Big group.
Once again, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here and join us. I think it would be important for these young people to see, for all of the members here that were either members of 4-H or FFA, I think it would be important if we raise our hands to allow them know that we were members and have done exactly what you're doing currently. So with that, we will begin our business. I'd ask that Representative Kulkarni, she's already there at the desk, and she can present House Bill 356. But before we begin, I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt the thank you, our committee sub 2 to House 356. We do have
It is by Hart and Tate.
by Representative Hart and Tate. And with that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. Representative, you may begin.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'll introduce myself for the record. I'm Representative Nima Kulkarni. Is that better? It's on. Is that better?
There we go.
Okay. All right. I'm Representative Nima Kulkarni. I represent District 40 in Jefferson County, and I will let my guests this morning introduce themselves as well.
My name is Delaney Cook, and I'm a Harrison County 4-H'er.
There we go. Let's try it again. Mike Meyer, Associate 4-H Kentucky Program Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chairman Dossett, Vice Chair Pfister, and members of the committee. I'm thanking you for considering House Bill 356 as amended by the committee sub this morning, and what a wonderful start we've had with our introductions and our guests here today. I want to go over very briefly some of the changes from the original bill and the committee sub for your information. Initially, the original bill sought to establish the Kentucky Urban Farming Youth Initiative, which focused on hands-on farming experience, efficient land use, and access to some agricultural tax exemptions. But thanks to Chairman Dossett's guidance and great suggestions, and after productive discussions with the Cooperative Extension at UK and 4-H specifically, the revised version essentially strengthens the educational opportunities that are going to be provided under this legislation while maintaining the core mission of engaging urban youth in agriculture. For main points of change, there is a broader agricultural education component to this legislation as amended by the committee sub. It expands the program beyond just farming to include agribusiness and agricultural advocacy as well as best practices for efficient land use. In addition, the name of the initiative has been amended to the Kentucky Urban Youth Agriculture Initiative to reflect this broader focus. There is more inclusive participation. This was upon suggestion by our 4-H participants. The revised bill essentially lowers the age to lowers it from 6 to 5 to reflect the 4-H program participant, and removes the requirement for them to have access to farmland, which could be a barrier to some youth living in urban counties. It expands program opportunities, including formal internship and apprenticeship programs, as well as age-appropriate experiential programs that will equip our students with work-ready skills. And there is a more structured implementation timeline. So the committee sub essentially establishes a pilot.
Second.
Motion by Representative Donworth and the second by Representative Hart. Okay, would you like to continue or would you like to move to questions?
No, I've been here long enough to learn that I don't need to continue after a motion has been called. I'm
Okay.
happy to answer any questions.
We will begin. Representative McPherson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Again, I want to applaud you for bringing this bill. And, in a former life, I served for 24 years as the chairman of the Extension Council in Allen County and served on the state committee. And the thing that we always said was we are the best kept secret in Kentucky. And I think this bill will expand and help and just broaden our horizon. We see a big group of people here today, but we want that group to even be more expansive and better. And as we talk about agriculture and as we want people to understand agriculture, we have to educate them on agriculture. And so all the broad spectrum of business, it's just not plowing in the field and planting crops. It is that, but it's so much more. And we appreciate this bill and the reason why and what it could do for our urban areas. So I applaud this. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, if it's all right, I would like to give a moment, if there is time, for my guest to say a few words.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Harrison County 4-H'er Delaney Cook. Since I don't live on a farm, I joined 4-H to get involved with animals and farming, but I quickly learned it is so much more than that. It's about growing, learning, and having fun with friends. 4-H has helped me to discover my passions. I remember trying everything from horticulture to sewing and even public speaking. Some things I was really good at right away, and others took a little bit more practice. But that's the point, right? Trying new things and figuring out what you love. It is easy when you join a program with so much to offer. 4-H has given me the opportunity to take on many roles. I have helped with the Barn Theater Farmer Suicide Prevention Program. I volunteered at various livestock shows and worked at our county fair. I created a business and even represented Kentucky at the 2024 National Life Smarts Competition in San Diego. Just last week, my junior Life Smarts team won the state competition and will be the first state team to compete in junior nationals from Kentucky. 4-H is also a great way to meet other people who share your interest. I made friends from all over, and I have had fun working with them on projects and activities. 4-H has a lot to do with animals and farms, and at the same time, it is about learning, growing, and becoming a responsible and confident person. I found my passion, and that is to become an extension agent. In the meantime, I'm making a positive impact on my club, my community, my country, and my world.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Meyer, and I just want to say first thank you, and thank you all for what's available in this room and what you see. In 1996, I made my first appearance in this room in front of the Ag Committee as a member of 4-H in Harrison County, just like these kids. And now it's come into a collaboration and a leadership position for Kentucky 4-H. And I want to say thank you for giving them this opportunity. And as Representative Bivens mentioned, they will be our future leaders, and they're going to be in those shoes later on, and we're so thankful for that. Kentucky reached over 202,000 youth in 2024. 79,000 of those were agriculture, agribusiness, economics, and leadership and communication related. And I want to say thank you for this opportunity to continue that and to expand it. Our purpose and our goal is to reach all youth in our Commonwealth, and that includes in our urban areas for education. It's not that you need all youth for production agriculture, but we need all youth for agriculture, every sector of it. Everyone needs to be educated on the health and the component and the importance of that, and this is going to help us reach out and provide those opportunities for all youth. So I want to say again, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity and support.
Thank you very much. Representative Cook.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was really wavering on this, but Ms. Cook's testimony has compelled me to vote yes when time comes. And I'll withdraw any of my questions that I was going to borrow from Ken Upchurch about roosters and eggs, so I'll withdraw those.
Wise decision. Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Kilcarney, I appreciate you bringing this forward today. I know this is an initiative you've been working on for a while, and I appreciate your persistence on this, because as we look around the room, we see not only the future of agriculture, but the future of our state, the future of our country. And this is going to open up to so many more youth that may have not had that opportunity to be exposed to these programs, to not only learn about agriculture, but to develop leadership skills for the future. Thank you again for bringing forth this.
Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine is more of a comment than a question. 4-H has been an integral part of my entire life. I was a 4-H student, and then we were greatly involved with me being a mom and then a grandmother. That being said, I'm very protective of 4-H. So when I initially read 356, my first instinct was, is there any other precedent for telling 4-H what they should or should not be teaching and how they program their curriculum? But wonderful conversation with the sponsor and our chair, and my local 4-H agents, Miss Kathy and Miss Dana, answered my questions. I appreciate their input on this. They alleviated my fears, and I'll continue to be very protective of 4-H, but this sounds like a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Representative Donworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few comments here. I grew up in Fayette County. I was not familiar with 4-H as a child. I think what you all are doing and seeing this network around the state is really amazing. Again, in Fayette County, we have major problems with land use, as we see. Being able to maximize what urban spaces we have that can be used for agricultural production in the future is really impressive. I commend you for working on it, Representative Kilcarney. I also think it plays a really important role in introducing our urban children and students into the agricultural fields. I spoke with a constituent the other day who also grew up in Lexington and was not familiar with it until his teacher introduced him to it. He ended up attending the Locust Trace program that Fayette County Public Schools offers, and has gone on to pursue a career in agricultural business. So really impressive young man, that was all because he was introduced. So I really applaud you for doing that. Also think it's really incredible that Ms. Cook wants to become an extension agent to help share her love, and want to commend Mr. Myers for his work to spread this love to all kids around the Commonwealth. So thank you. This is a great bill.
Representative Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ask a question in relation to the definition of farmland for the sponsor. As you know, we represent urban districts, and I'm a huge fan of urban agriculture. Absolutely love to hear the words agribusiness or thinking about agriculture and economic development terms. I live in Louisville, but my family is from Hopkinsville, so I want to shout that out. Does farmland in this definition, would that include, say, an urban plot that's used as like a community garden or any sort of operation like that? I think the definition talks about business enterprises and such. So would that include those urban areas as well?
It would, and part of what this sub did is remove the definition, essentially, or the requirement for access to a specific amount of farmland, a minimum amount of farmland, so that there is no limit. Because I know, and I'll defer to Mr. Myers, that 4-H has programs that are geared towards some urban areas where you may not have access to a lot of land or area. And I'll let you kind of speak to that. But that is, the point of this is access. So we have removed that.
Certainly, and what I just want to reiterate is that, in 4-H, our goal is to remove any barriers that might be a potential, if youth are interested in agriculture in any form, we want to give them that opportunity to have exposure. And so, involvement in 4-H and entry in 4-H is not limited to any location, place, age. We're for all youth 5 to 18. So if somebody shows an interest, we want to definitely do everything we can to remove those barriers, whether it be transportation, location within city limits, or entry or anything there to make it accessible for them to learn and grow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In agriculture, I think one of the biggest problems we have is we try to divide our group at times. We are too small of a group anymore to have division. I don't care if you're a large farmer, a small farmer, if you're a city farmer or a country farmer, organic, non-organic, commercial, whatever it is. We all have to work together in agriculture. And Representative Kulkarni, I appreciate this bill. I appreciate the changes that were made to it, and I hope that all my colleagues are going to join me today in supporting this and voting yes for it. So thank you very much.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, Representative Rayburn.
Thank you so much for this bill. I've got one short question. Under this bill, a pilot program would be created. Do we know which offices will be included? Do we have any insight into that at this point?
So we are leaving that to the cooperative extension to decide the parameters and the location specifically for the pilot project. And I'll again defer to Mr. Myers to expand a little bit further.
Certainly, yeah. Our focus, when we think of urban environments in general and our populations, our focus would be for Fayette County, Kenton, Campbell, Boone area, Hardin County, of course, Jefferson. Those areas where we can immediately, once we have those resources and our people in place to have that developed as a pilot situation, we want to definitely start in our highest populated areas.
Yeah. Any other questions? Delaney, I want to thank you and compliment you on your presentation. I want to once again thank you and compliment you on your presentation. You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
It is impressive as we watch our young people be involved. I have several of my friends' children that are involved in 4-H there at home and what they do, and you have such a major impact, so I want to appreciate that. With that, we do have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chair, very, very briefly, there's a title amendment. Does that apply here, or do we need to adopt it? Okay. That's last. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
And with that, I ask the Secretary to call the roll, please.
Representative All.
Enthusiastic, yes.
Representative Bivens.
Yes.
Representative Donworth.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Pfister.
Yes.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Hale.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Holloway.
Yes.
Representative Kim King.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Representative Massaroni. Representative McPherson.
Yes.
Representative Moore.
Yes.
Representative Payne.
As a former agriculture teacher and 4-H and FFA member, a proud yes.
Representative Pollock, Representative Rayburn,
Yes.
Representative Stalker,
Yes.
Representative Tate,
Yes.
Representative Thomas,
Aye.
Representative Tipton, Representative Watkins,
Aye.
and Chairman Dossett.
Yes.
Passes.
House Bill 356 as amended by the committee sub does pass. And can I have a motion on our title amendment, please?
Second.
We have a motion by Representative Massaroni, second by Representative Tipton. May all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Title amendment passes. Representative Kulkarni, thank you so much for this legislation that you brought forward, and thank you for allowing me to work with you on it. I think we have done something to benefit our young people here in Kentucky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee.
Next, we'll come to the table, ask Representative Scott Sharp to come forward, and he can present House Bill 315. Representative, introduce yourself and you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, Representative Scott Sharp, representing the 100th District. And what I'm presenting to you today is House Bill 315, which was drafted last year by former Representative Heath. And I kind of picked it up and ran with it from there. This is a foreign adversary land bill to minimize their ability to purchase land here in Kentucky.
We have a motion by Representative Tate and a second by Representative Bivens. Representative, would you like to continue or move on?
Let's move on.
We do have some questions, but first we have someone who would like to speak in opposition of the bill. Would Mr. Shank please come forward? And if you don't mind, would you introduce yourself and you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Tim Shank. I'm General Counsel at the Kentucky Bankers Association. Just to be clear here, today we're not here to testify against the purpose of the bill, but really solely the mechanics related to Section 8 of the bill that involves foreclosure of the property. I'll try to be brief in my statements here because I know everyone is extremely busy. But as you know, banks are some of the most regulated entities out there in this entire country. They have to respond to state regulators, federal regulators, and included in that group of regulators is the U.S. Department of Treasury. Within a subgroup of that Department of Treasury is a group called the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is otherwise known as FinCEN. And before banks can make a loan on property, they have to run information on their borrowers through this network of FinCEN. And the network and list of individuals, entities, countries contained therein is much more exhaustive than the list contained in 22 CFR in the bill. So in short, not to bore you with bank regulation, but banks cannot make loans to these sort of foreign adversaries listed in here, to be clear. So what is the bank's concern here? The concern here is that community banks throughout this Commonwealth make loans to the farmers throughout this Commonwealth. And what you'll see is that the banks make loans to those farmers, and generally speaking, foreign adversaries will come in and say, just for numbers purposes, if a farm is worth $500,000, we'll give you $1 million if you sign this quitclaim deed here. They won't go to a closing. It won't sign off. It won't trigger red flags within FinCEN or the registry because, quite frankly, they're getting cash. They don't need bank funding or otherwise within the system. So our concern here is that by virtue of Section 8 of this statute, it creates a super priority lien for the Attorney General for actual costs related to these types of investigations, which leads to the question of what are the actual costs? If it was costs related to the sale of property, it would be addressed by the foreclosure statutes, which we've had for a long time. But our concern is that actual costs, one, how could they be determined, and what are they inclusive of? I'm not sure how that would even work with the Attorney General in terms of actual costs. Would that be billing for time based off an hourly basis? Would it be based off of resources? All these sort of things. But the concern here is that mortgage holders with valid liens would not be aware of these transfers because, quite frankly, the parties could take their money and go, and they wouldn't know that there'd be a new owner of the property. But ultimately, theoretically, if the Attorney General's office were to spend hours and hours and hours investigating these things and costs were determinative based off of hourly rates or anything under the sun without having those costs defined, it could completely absorb the amount of mortgage sitting on that property without any notice to the bank or without any opportunity to the bank to speak up about losing their priority interest. And obviously, if this were to become a wholesale large problem, it could potentially limit access to credit across the board for farmers just from concern related to this. So, really it's not in opposition to the concept or purpose of the bill. It's really just to address what are these actual costs associated with Section 8, because they're not defined therein. And again, the typical costs of sale are addressed in a foreclosure. And we just want to make sure that our lenders and bankers across the Commonwealth are able to continue to serve their farmers and address this, and that they have a notice and opportunity to protect the value of their mortgage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Sharp, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just notified of this concern about 3 minutes before the committee hearing started. So this is something that may need to get worked on, may need to coordinate through the AG's office to figure out the concerns that Mr. Shanks has expressed here.
Okay. We do have questions. Representative All.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was one of the few members of my party that voted in favor of this similar piece of legislation last year. I do intend to vote for it. I would like to, along with this, I know it's very similar to what we passed last year, but could you explain the differences specifically in this bill to what we passed last year in this committee?
Pretty much this is the exact same bill. I took out paragraph 4 of last year that talked about leasing 350 acres of land, or it was section 4 last year. It talked about that. I took out that. I felt it made it a stronger bill.
Was this part of the banking piece? Was this in there last year?
Yes, that was in there last year, and it has nothing to do with the banking piece. That was section 8.
Right. So section 8. We didn't hear any opposition from you guys last year on Section 8. Yeah,
yes,
sure.
Please.
Representative All, I think that it was a different construct related to costs from last year. And in full disclosure on this one as to why it was so short is there's a number of similar bills that were filed. We weren't sure which one was going to run. So, that was our concern. Again, not here to obstruct the purpose of the bill, but solely to make sure that we, address how these costs are going to be calculated and that it protects mortgage liens and also tax liens to the extent they would be implicated as well.
Thank you.
Representative Bivens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. before I was sworn in January after the election, I had numerous people, constituents, that came to me. And I think when all of this was brought up in Arkansas a few years ago, and we saw what was brought up there, but they all have requested to me, hey, we do not need foreign ownership of ag land in this state. And while I can appreciate the bankers' concerns, I just want to say I don't think we've probably ever passed a piece of legislation in this state that has been absolutely perfect. I just want to point that out. I want to sit here and tell you I appreciate you, Representative Sharp, for bringing this up because it is a situation that is delicate. But I'm going to point out as a farmer, whether the banks want to back me or not, or if I've got cash available, I probably cannot go to a foreign land and buy a piece of agricultural land in another country. So I have never understood why we allow a foreign entity to come into our country and buy our ag land. This is something we need to hold sacred. It becomes a matter of national security. If we cannot produce our own food, it's a national security issue. And when we have other countries buying ag land or owning ag land, it needs to be put to a stop. I can appreciate the bankers' concerns, but I also think that there has been other concerns in the past when it comes to bankers and mortgages with tax liens and everything else. So I think that is something that we can certainly work out. And I also don't think the AG is going to be one to try to hold you all up from getting your money or frivolous spending or whatever you want to say on his part to eat up the whole value of that farm. So I think this is a moot point today, personally. So with that said, I'm certainly going to support Mr. Sharp's, Representative Sharp's bill today, and I'd ask all my colleagues to do the same thing. Thank you.
Representative McPherson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So again, we've got just to kind of add on to Representative Bivens there, we've got Fort Campbell and Fort Knox in the state of Kentucky. You know, we've got a responsibility to protect these areas. You know, he's talking about it from an ag standpoint of food security. I'm talking about it from a standpoint of just national security. I mean, we do a lot of things here, and we prepare Fort Campbell and Fort Knox in their area here, 623rd in my area, do a lot of training to get ready to go do stuff around the world. And we don't need people spying on us any more than we can stop that. You know, when the president sometimes is asked, are you going to do this? Or are you going to do this? I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do. That's crazy. You know, we've got people's lives at stake here. To the Bankers Association, would you all not be vetting these people before you loan the money? And what would be the purpose? I mean, you have to understand who you're loaning money to before you loan it, do you not?
Representative McPherson, just to be clear, as bankers, we would not be allowed to loan money to these foreign adversaries. Where this would kick in is if we were providing funds to a farmer who, you know, is a resident of the Commonwealth, and then someone approaches them and says, hey, you know, I'm going to give you $1 million for your farm if you sign this quitclaim deed. It's not like they go to a closing table and have a closing transaction and the mortgage is paid off. It's just that ownership would transfer by virtue of a quitclaim deed to that foreign national without having our mortgage addressed. So it's not the banks funding these foreign nationals. It is the circumstance of farmer theoretically getting cash or check or whatever it may be, and then the mortgage is not addressed, but still subject to this foreclosure.
If I may, one more.
Yes.
So if the mortgagee owes you money and they take money and don't pay their loan, is that not on them? I understand you've got a piece of land here, but they violated the law, have they not?
That would be correct,
Okay.
Representative McPherson. But as you probably know, there are limits on default. So if they continue to make payments over things, we've also got restrictions on when we can foreclose. So those are all things that are addressed in the law, but we have our limitations too as to what we can do by federal regulators.
So I appreciate your position, but I think we've got national security to worry about here. I apologize for, but I appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative McPherson.
Representative Hale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to go back to what Representative Bivens just said. He said it probably better than I will say it. I was the primary co-sponsor on this bill last year with Representative Heath, and I thought it was a great bill. and I appreciate Representative Sharp moving it forward, but I want to echo off of what Representative All just said. This section was in there last year, and there was nobody came to testify anything against this. There was no opposition from any. There was opposition at times, but we worked on that bill and got it to where it was a good bill. Just was not able to get across the finish line. But this section 8, was there last year, and nobody came here and said one word about it. So I go back to the point of, again, what Representative Bivens said. I think we're looking at a far greater issue with national security here in the state of Kentucky, and it just I'm just questioning why there was nothing said about this last year. And so here we are this year with still an excellent bill that Representative Sharp has brought forward, and I'm in full support of it, and I would encourage everyone to be in full support of it. Thank you.
Representative Donworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I initially did not understand the scope of this, and I've dug into it a little bit. I represent parts of Fayette County. I've also been active in the horse business, which has a lot of multinational groups that own farms and properties throughout central Kentucky. Also thinking about our Sister Cities program, which the city of Lexington has sister cities programs with Deauville, France, County Kildare, Ireland, Shinhidaka, Japan, and Newmarket, England, and I'm sure I just mispronounced that. But I think one of the things that has set us apart in many of our industries is our ability to appeal in multinational industries. I have had those concerns addressed where they explained to me that this would not impact all foreign nationals. I'm hoping you could explain that a little bit more for the benefit of the public here.
Well, the bill references 22 Code of Federal Regulations 126.1, and in that regulation it lists adversarial governments to where this bill would apply. It would be governments such as Belarus, Burma, China, North Korea, Iran, and Syria, for example.
Okay. And follow-up question?
Yes.
What body is responsible for updating that code?
That's the federal government.
Congress.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Representative Tate. Okay. Representative Pfister.
The scenario you're describing here with the cash sale, how is that any different than any cash sale that could happen? Aren't the banks already out there kind of flapping in the wind if I want to walk up and offer you that double the value of your farm?
If I may, Representative Pfister, the difference here is that there would be a super priority lien created above the bank's mortgage interest. In the transaction you describe, there wouldn't be another party jumping ahead of the mortgage, so eating into the value of the mortgage. And just to clarify, I'm not suggesting any sort of wrongdoing or anything else by the Attorney General as to costs. I don't believe Mr. General would do that. It's just in creating a super priority lien by virtue of these investigations. And again, not opposing the purpose of the bill, just the potential for diminution of the value of the mortgage by virtue of the super priority lien for whatever constitutes actual costs associated.
Okay, but it still comes back to the citizen selling land and not doing what he originally contracted to do. Correct.
Yes, and it would most often be a breach.
Representative Watkins.
Mr. Chair, if I can have just a question and a follow-up.
Sure.
Sticking with this scenario, if I understand correctly, with a quitclaim deed. Now, it's my understanding that even quitclaim deeds are supposed to be recorded, or at least in my county they are. So in your scenario, if that quitclaim deed is recorded during that transaction, that would then trigger this particular property in question being owned by a foreign national, which then would trigger the AG's investigation. And your concern is that because you do not understand how the fees would be assessed or any costs related to said investigation, that would then replace the first position of the mortgage. Is that correct?
I think that's correct.
Okay, so are there any mechanisms, I guess, to the sponsor then, outside of the property owner having to fill out the annual report? Are there any other mechanisms outside of self-reporting that the Department of Agriculture would be notified that this transaction is taking place? Are you leaning on local authorities or something of that nature?
That's correct. This is a bill put together by Representative Heath last year, and I believe that was his intention.
Okay, so back to the banker. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I need to
Yes,
I
go
want to
ahead.
be in order. I'm sorry. So it's less to do about the quick claim mechanism, aside from the fact that it would be a foreign national. The bank's concern is just that your position would be replaced by the AG.
Yes, and that those costs, for whatever actual costs are, theoretically could eat away at the entirety value of the mortgage. Just that there's no caps or limitations associated with it.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our gentleman representing the concerns of our bankers and our finance industry. I know we're all kind of hearing these concerns kind of right as we're hearing this bill, and it didn't come up last year. My thought process is I think we have a pretty robust legislative process as these bills work their way through. I would ask if the sponsor and the gentleman here would be willing to, since the objection is not in the nature of the bill itself, but more this linguistic Section 8, if the two would be amenable to at least having a conversation if this bill passes committee today, which it seems likely to see if there's anything that can be done to make resolve any fears or concerns before it comes on the House floor or for a House floor amendment, if the two of you would be open to that conversation of the process.
I certainly am.
Absolutely, Representative Moore.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? If not, we'll move on to a vote. We do have a motion. Second, ask the secretary to call the roll.
Representative Ball.
Let me quickly explain my vote. I'm going to vote yes today because I do agree with the purpose of the bill. I echo Representative Moore's sentiment. Would like y'all to work this out. I know we're all busy. It'd be super great since it was the same bill we had last year if y'all could let us know before 3 minutes before a hearing on a concern. But I would love to work it out. I vote yes today.
Representative Bibbins.
Yes.
Representative Donworth.
Briefly explain my vote.
Yes.
I agree with my colleagues that I hope you all can work on a floor amendment. But all in, I think this is a great goal, and I hope we can address the bankers' concerns moving forward. I'm a yes.
Representative Pfister.
Yes.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Hale.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Holloway.
Yes.
Representative Kim King.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Representative Massaroni. Yes. Representative McPherson.
Yes.
Representative Moore.
Yes.
Representative Payne.
Yes.
Representative Pollock. Representative Rayburn.
Yes.
Representative Stalker.
Yes.
Representative Tate.
Yes.
Representative Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Tipton.
Yes.
Representative Watkins.
Aye.
And Chairman Dossett.
Yes. House Bill 315 passes with favorable expression, and we believe it will do so on the House floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee.
If there is no other business, we are adjourned. That's all I need, right? Oh.